welcome to this collar part of this video. So we are going to be fixing the collar. This is a collar. Remember when we drafted it, we cut this part out and we cut into fabric, right? So we're going to sew the center back. We're going to sew it. That's the center of the collar, bringing the two pieces for the front and lining part together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this part together. Okay, so after sewing, then we're going to fix it to our jacket. This collar part actually has the notched parts to it. Okay, so after sewing it like this, now here is my jacket. I'm going to connect it to the neck. I'm going to connect center to center. Okay, so just want you to see the neck part well. So we're going to go ahead and connect like this. So that's the notched side connecting to that notched side at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to connect this to the center back. Okay, the center back at the neck. So when you place it like this, make sure you either pin it or you sew directly. Make sure everything is well aligned. Now I'm cutting this seam so that place will not be looking bulky. You know, we are looking for a smooth collar, right? So we are going to just reduce those seam allowances a bit just at that point. So we are ready to sew. Okay, so at this point, of course, you know that we are watching out for neatness and then accuracy in sewing. So you just take your time and then make sure you sew everything neatly. So you do the same for the other side. Make sure you start from the center so that everything will align well. Okay, so you can see that I'm joining it individually. Everything is going to be inseam, right? So this is the lining face, the inner face. I'm going to place it to the lining. Okay, this one is to the lining, the other one is to the front part. Same thing I did, reducing the seam allowance at the center there before I go ahead to sew. Okay, so still same way we sewed the other side. That's how we're sewing this side too. Okay, starting from the center. So guys, after you have sewn it like this, you notch and notch, because we have a little curve there, right? So that by the time we go and then we iron, everything will look smooth. So there is need to notch because we have curve there. The neckline is curved, right? So guys, having joined this part, now we're going to go ahead to turn it, and then because we are sewing everything inseam, okay, this is how the collar looks. Now we are going to turn it in. Okay, that's our notched part right there. You can see the opening. Okay, you can see it. So we are going to go and sew. We're going to sew it. At the end of the day, we'll need to iron. So this is where I'm bringing it out from the sleeve area, the armhole, so that I can turn it and sew it, because everything has to be inseam. Of course it has to. Okay, so that's how to go about sewing this kind of blazer, for everything to be inseam. Now for this notched part, you want to be very careful when sewing it, especially this part that has the joining of the collar right there. So you want to just try and trim and notch also, just so that that place will not be looking rough and squeezy. So we're going to just go ahead. We want to sew that place carefully, opening your seam and then notching, and then making sure that that place is so smooth, because of course that place is going to be visible for everybody to see, so it has to be smooth and neat. Okay, so you go ahead and sew, everything has to align perfectly well. So from our pattern, we already trust our pattern to give us that alignment, that perfect alignment, so we are not scared. All right, that's why pattern drafting is important. When it comes to sewing, you know that the care you need is just to make your work neat, not that some things are not aligning well. Excuse me. All right, so you can see how careful I am, making sure that I'm adjusting, arranging, and making sure everything aligns well. Okay, so I'm going to just reduce some seam allowance there, and then I'm sewing so that everything will look smooth at the end of the day. Okay, so you have to take your time like this to sew this collar part, because that part is very important. It's very important that that part looks very neat and clean to show professionality in your work, or professionalism in your work, right? So we are going to iron this seam open. All the places we have joined at this neck side, we're going to iron them. Now I've ironed all the seam open. I'm going to turn it over for you to see how it looks. Well, I'm still going to go and iron it after turning it out, so that it will look neat. Now if you are sewing blazer and you don't like ironing, don't even start sewing it. Don't even go there, because ironing is the blazer itself. Okay, so you have to just make up your mind on ironing, because ironing is what gives it the look you are looking for. It's what makes it look very neat. Okay, so this is our collar, this is our notched lapel. Okay, so you see that part I was talking about. So this is it, guys. So the next video is going to be on the sleeve, how to connect the sleeve. The sleeve also is a two-piece sleeve, like two-piece blazer sleeve. So you're going to see the technicalities involved in that sleeve. Then this is sleeve cap, the elbow, and then the wrist. The sleeve cap, the length of the sleeve cap is usually your sleeve width divided by 2. So mine is about 7.5 or almost 8, so I used 4. Okay, so I just marked my sleeve width there, and then from this point I'm going to connect it to that tip there at my start line. Just do exactly what I'm doing, and you get your sleeve, basic sleeve, correctly. Okay, so you put your tape, divide this line into 2, and then mark. Okay, this is actually how to draft a basic sleeve. So the next thing we want to do is to get a parallel straight line. That's why I placed my pattern master that way, to get a straight line across that point. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch upward, and then I'm going to mark 1.5 inch horizontal at that's the shoulder line, the line that will connect us to the shoulder, right, or our start line. So with my armhole curve, I'm going to connect those points to give me a good and smooth curve. So after that is done, I'll use my armhole curve again to connect it to the width of my sleeve. Let this curve fall, let it fall on that line. Okay, now if you don't understand this part, I'd advise you watch it over and over again so that you get it correctly, because this is the perfect sleeve pattern. You can use this pattern for anything, any clothes you want to wear, except for this blazer, which we are still going to alter this basic sleeve into. We're going to alter this basic sleeve into our blazer 2-piece sleeve. we are drafting a two-piece sleeve, but we have to start with the basics, with the basic sleeve first. Okay, so that's my elbow measurement. My elbow is 11, so I used 5.5. My wrist is 9, so I used 4.5. Okay, so just watch how I'm using my curve to connect the points. You can see from this point I'm going to connect it there to the elbow, and then I'm going to connect it with the straight curve, to the straight row to the wrist. So with this, my basic sleeve is done. So I'm going to cut this out quickly so we can start altering into our two-piece sleeve. Now I would like you to watch carefully. Okay, watch carefully how we're going to do this. So I'm going to label my pattern first. I'm going to go ahead and extend my line. This is my elbow line, very important line. Okay, so I extended the sleeve cap line, and then I'm going to label this part to be my front, and then the other side will be the back. That's the side that will connect to the front of my bodies, okay, for my blazer, and that this side will connect to the back. Okay, you'll see the reason why we are actually labeling it very soon. Okay, so I'm going to fold this line, fold this to the middle like this. Let that tip touch the middle, and then I'm going to extend this line, the elbow line, because it's a very important line. We're going to be using it. So I'm going to cut it open, but first I'm going to secure it with my masking tape. I'll use my masking tape to secure it, and then I'll just go ahead and cut that part out. Okay, so by the time we cut it out like this, I'll still make sure I maintain my labelings, the back, front. I maintain it because I just cut through the labeling just now, so I'll just rewrite it back, and then I'm going to place this center, and then I'm going to slash the middle line. Normally, if you look at blazer sleeves, they are folded towards the front, so I'm going to slash from the back to the front and then open it so that it will bend towards the front. You see the reason why we are labeling, so that I'll know which side is the back and which side is the front. And this measurement here is 1 inch opening. Okay, excuse me, 1 inch opening for the slash. I'm going to secure that part down with my tape. Okay, take note of the side I'm cutting through. Okay, I'm cutting from the back to the front. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark 1.5 inch all through. I'm adding 1.5 inch. The ½ inch is for the seam allowance, and then the other 1 inch is for ease. Okay, so that you can bend your hand freely without any challenge. Okay, so take note of this pattern, very important. Okay, you can use this pattern for corporates, and you can use them for your suits, for your blazer, and then you just have it perfectly done. Okay, so you can see the sleeve is bent. So this is it. We are done with that one, and then the other side. So we'll still place it on another paper like this, and then I'm going to trace out the edges. Okay, by the time I trace out the edges, and then we're still going to slash from the back to the front also, and open it by 1 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the same. So I'm just tracing out the sides now. So by the time I'm done, so when I'm done, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and complete the lines for the tracing. Okay, So this is it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and draw my elbow line still, and then I'll cut it out like this, so that by the time I'm done cutting, it will look like this. This is the elbow line. Make sure you maintain the labeling for the front and the back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and still cut through from the back towards the front, so that it will rhyme. Like I said earlier, that sleeve for blazers usually bend towards the front, towards the front of your arm. Okay, so I'm still going to place it again on another paper, mark 1 inch as usual, and then I'm going to connect. So we are done. Okay, once this is done, we are done. You can see this one, we are no longer adding any sleeve allowance to it, because we already added 1.5 to the other center parts that we worked on earlier. So we're just going to go ahead and cut, and this is what it looks like. This is our sleeve pattern, and then I'll just go ahead and cut the sleeve pattern on fabric. Take note of the labelings. The side that is the front will connect to the front. Okay, so I'll go ahead, cut the sleeve for the two, then we will sew it. Hi everyone, so it's time for us to sew our blazer sleeve. Okay, so these are 2-piece sleeve. I just placed it how it's supposed to be, the side we are going to join. You see, I've cut everything plus the lining. You can see that the lining is shorter. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to pin them so that I won't get confused. You see this side, that's the side we are supposed to join, right? You can see that our pattern is not straight, it's bent to give us that freedom. That's how to do this blazer sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the sides we are going to be joining our 2-piece. Okay, this is the second piece, the smaller one. So I'm going to go ahead and join it and pin it like this. Okay, so that it will not confuse us, right? So I'll pin it first. Make sure you do the same, pin the sides, because this sleeve can be tricky, so that you don't go and sew the wrong side. From your pattern, you should know which side you are supposed to be joining to the other side, right? So you just pin it down like this for the sake of accuracy. So I'm going to do the same thing there for the other one. Okay, now these sleeves, you cannot exchange the left sleeve and put it at the right sleeve. When we sew it, you have to be careful to place each sleeve in their position. The right sleeve is bent towards the front, and the left also towards the front. So the two, left sleeve and right sleeve, they are not the same, they are in opposite direction. Okay, they are in opposite. I'll show you what I mean later, okay, when we have joined it. So I'm just pinning everything down, all our piece down, so that when it's time for sewing, we'll just sew that part directly. The parts that has the pin, we'll sew it, and then we'll sew this second side also. All right, so let's get into the sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and sew like this. Make sure it's equal while you are sewing. All right, so now I'm going to connect the other side. Okay, now this second side, so you make sure that is equal while you sew. All right, Okay, so guys, here we go. Okay, so that's the lining. I'm using bridal satin as the lining, and then the other side. Now for this keyhole corset blazer, I used bridal satin because I want it to be more thick, right? But you can use suit lining. Yeah, we have suit lining in the market. You could go ahead and use suit lining, but because I want it to be very more stable, that's why I used this one, this bridal satin. Okay, suit lining is usually even cheaper. Okay, just that you need to pad it well. Okay, you need to pad it well, especially for the bodies. I did the same for this too, for the bodies of this one too. You saw it, right? So guys, this is how our sleeve is going to look when we are done sewing. All right, so just hold on, you see it. So I'm going to turn it inside out. Of course, you know that we are going to iron it, right? Can you see that it's looking bent in one direction? It's bending towards one direction, towards the front. Okay, that's the lining. Okay, so I'm just doing one of the sleeves with you. Watch this and do the second sleeve. It will just be repetition if I do the second sleeve here again. So if you don't understand, you can watch the video again. All right, now the second sleeve, if you place them together, it's going to be in opposite direction. They are going to be facing each other. So guys, now there's going to be a little gathers, but this gathers is going to be invisible. At the end of the day, you won't see it on the suit, you will not see it on the blazer at the shoulder side, right? So I'm just going to draw this gather, and please, before you draw the gathers, make sure you pad that part again. Some people use that soft wadding, but I just use 2 layers of that of ST in that part. You can see I used ST in there. Okay, apart from the other sides, there's no, I didn't pad the other side, just the shoulder side, because of these gathers we are doing now, just to make that place firm. Okay, and to make it look nice and stable too. So I'm going to go ahead, after drawing these gathers slightly like this, I'm going to go ahead and iron that part. When I'm done arranging my gathers, make sure the gathers spread equally. Okay, so look at it. All right, so it's going to connect to the hand, to the armhole here. But before we do that, of course, we are going to go and do some ironing. So what I'm trying to do here is just to check to see if this sleeve will go around. Now I'm notching that side that will fit in, so you check it around if your sleeve will go around before you come to iron. Okay, so you get your ham, your ironing ham. Okay, and then you place your sleeve just like the way you see me placing it, and then you iron it. Make sure you give it thorough ironing, and when your gathers look invisible, that's when you now stop the ironing, and then you go ahead and place it on your fabric, on the front or on the bodies. Okay, so this is it, guys. Okay, so we are done. Now we are going to go ahead and connect. Look at where I notched. That's the armpit side. Oh, I'll connect it to the seam at the side there. Then you can, if you notice, I'm only sewing one side, the front. the fashion fabric side. Of course, you know that the lining is separate. Okay, the lining for the sleeve is separate, so I'm not joining the two together. I've not turned the hem of the sleeve yet. Okay, please take note of that. I've not turned the hem of the sleeve yet. I'm going to show you this part. This part is a little bit technical, but I want you to understand that I'm joining it individually. Okay, so by the time I'm done sewing the sleeve round like this, I'm going to use the lining to turn it so that we'll have an inseam. Our seam will not be outside. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to achieve here. That's why I'm joining it individually. Okay, so by the time I'm done sewing this, I'll bring the lining part, sew it on the flip side so that it will cover our seam. Now by the time we are done sewing this blazer, inside you're not going to see any seam. Everything is going to be hidden. Your seam allowance is going to be hidden inside. Okay, so after joining, you can see our gathers is not there, but the effect is showing on it a little, just a little. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and join the lining just the same way I joined the front, but the flip side. See how I'm joining it now. By the time I turn it inside, it's going to cover this our seam. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place it accurately, that part I notched, same side, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew it all around. So of course the fixing of the collar and the fixing of the sleeve have to be done with utmost accuracy. Okay, so and utmost care as well. So I'm taking my time to explain so that you would understand. Now I notice I'm not comfortable, so I want to place it in such a way that I'll be comfortable sewing it. That's why I stopped. Okay, so I'm going to continue until I finish sewing it round. Okay, so that's how we do it. All right, let's turn it inside out and see what we have here right now. Okay, I'm not still done. I still have a little space up there that I'm still going to sew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose a little portion at the lining of the sleeve. Yes, where I'm going to use to turn and to sew the other part. Okay, so guys, I'm going to pass my hand through that place and then turn it so that's like this, so I can now sew that remaining part. Okay, so the next part I want to sew, I don't even know this part is on speed. I'm still going to turn the base of the sleeve through that place I opened. Okay, so I'm sewing the base of the sleeve now, as you can see, right? So by the time I'm done sewing that part, I'll turn it in and we are done with the sleeve. Okay, so this is it, and this is how the sleeve looks. Okay, so we are actually done sewing the sleeve. Then this opening part, I'm going to stitch it until it's small, although I'm stitching it inside, so that little opening will remain there. in case you want to adjust any parts in your blazer. That's the part you use to turn inside in the lining. You can decide to bead yours, you can decide to use a pleat, you can decide to do anything you want to do on it, but I prefer it this way so as not to cover the main techniques, the sewing techniques. Okay, look at the welt pockets, look at the flap covering the welt, and it's just so beautiful. I hope you try this. I hope you make yours. When you make it, submit it, you tag us. There's a little fashion and accessories on Facebook and on Instagram. Okay, bye. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and click notification bell.